Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Weekend Winners in association with Bet Victor. This is your go-to show for your best bets ahead of the weekend. And this weekend, there really is something for everyone. But we are going to be focusing in on the Irish Oaks card at the Curragh, as well as some intriguing contests from Newbury as well. And I'll be looking at these races in my usual company of Sam Boswell and Declan Rick. Sam, you had a very good weekend last weekend.
Yeah, nice for both of us to have the winner of July Cup. That was a freakish performance, very strange. Declan was very right about the start, but boy, despite that, overcame, was just brilliant. And Master of the Seas was a nice winner at Royal Ascot as well, I should say, and fingers crossed can go on to bigger and better things this season. Yeah,
hopefully more to come from him. But as Sam just said, I mean, Shaquille, Declan, you were spot on with him breaking slowly yet again there, but that was a mighty performance.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a freak, isn't he? He's to be that slowly away in all these races and still win as well as he did as well. Good to see the old boy run to freedom, run well at a big price, ran a cracker. But yeah, I really enjoyed last week's Newmarket July Festival. I thought a lot of big performances. Nashwa, City of Troy, Shaquille. Yeah, really enjoyable week.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have more of the same this week because it is classic action that we have to look forward to. But before we crack on with the action, a reminder to please do gamble responsibly. That our tips are not guaranteed to win, but we will still do our best to point you in the right direction anyway. And also remember to like and subscribe to the At The Races YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. Right, we will crack on with the action and we begin with the big one. This is the Group 1 Irish Oaks for the 3-year-old fillies over a mile 4 at 3:45 at the Curragh. Aidan O'Brien holds a very strong hand here, but Ryan Moore is on Save for Last Dance, who is the 11-10 market leader. So Declan, who wins the Irish Oaks?
Well, I'm hoping it's going to be Save the Last Dance. She's got two big things in her favour. One, Ryan Moore has chosen to ride her. That's a big positive. And two, there looks to be an awful lot of rain forecast around the Curragh this weekend. The ground is going to get very, very soft. And we saw here at Chester that day on heavy going how devastating she was the time before she won on heavy ground at Leopardstown as well. To be fair to her, on much faster going, I thought she ran well in the Oaks, but she just didn't look as comfortable. Maybe it was the track, maybe it was the ground, maybe it was a combo of both. But she's a filly with a wonderful attitude. She stuck around late and she stays very strongly. She ran well. I just think the key thing is with all that rain falling or forecast for the Curragh, you know, that's going to be play to her strengths more than Warm Heart, I think. I think the draw on 5 is a good positive as well, because she can be slow away. If she is slow away, that just give Ryan more options. So I think if all that rain does come, the 11-8, I think I could see her going off odds on.
Yeah, like I say, she's already shortened, hasn't she, with Ryan Moore then being booked to ride. So naturally, she's going to shorten from that. But like I say, with the forecast rain, though, they are due a lot at the Curragh, which is only going to help her chances, Sam. But are you siding with her, or?
Yeah, Rixie's spot on with everything he said. And I think the track will really suit as well, that longer straight. I know people have started to maybe get a little bit crabby about the Oaks form, but I just think it's such early days. And she ran an absolute screamer that day. For me, I've already backed her, and I'm going to go in again for the Arc. I think she absolutely will be the type that will relish that kind of test. And again, we know how well she can go underfoot. As far as I'm concerned, for me, I think she goes off shorter as well. So we're in full agreement, Deck. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Hopefully a good thing. We are in form at the moment. But you said you backed her for the Arc. I nearly backed her for the Ledger as well this week. So if she wins, she's going to shorten for both, isn't she?
Oh, massively so, yeah. And like saying, for conditions then that she'd be getting going ahead to the Arc, if she goes and wins this.
All those allowances that type of horse would get. There's just so many reasons that... And listen, I know people aren't mad about the Oaks form at the moment, but I think that could still yet change. And the manner of the victory, and I know the Chester win, people say, oh, you know, you can't get too excited about that when you look back through the card. But the visuals, really...
Well, the sectionals as well. Her quickest furlong was the last furlong of the race. And I know maybe because Chester's always on the turn, you know, that kind of allows horses to do that. But when horses are running their fastest furlongs on that kind of ground in the last one of the race, it's a sign of a good horse for me.
Yeah, and she was so impressive. Like I say, the times backed her up at Chester, and I agree with you, where the ground just looked far too lively for her in the Oaks, and connections appear to have been gutted about that as well. I know she was beaten at odds on, but I hugely respected her coming here. But as I say, the price just was getting short enough for me, and I'm expecting her to shorten again. And when I was really flip-flopping between her and Warm Heart probably single-handedly saved my Royal Ascot from a punting perspective. So naturally, I have a bit of emotional bias towards her. But as I say, Ryan Moore on Save for Last Dance, I'm getting a fairer price about Warm Heart, just enough to swing it in her favour for me. But not only that, I think that Warm Heart could have the positional bias in the race, where we know that the Curragh is very much a front-runner's benefit at the best of times. And again, that might just count against Save for Last Dance if she elects to take a lead again. Whereas Warm Heart did have the run of the race at Royal Ascot last time out. And I actually think that the Ribblesdale form might just be stronger than the Oaks as well, where yes, Alasifa disappointed, but the winning time of the Ribblesdale was just 0.85 seconds slower than the blisteringly run King George V handicap. Just showed that Warm Heart had improved again, beating Blue, Stocking and LeMay by even further than she had done at Newbury previously. And as I say, I just have that emotional connection to her now. So I'm going to take the pair of you on with Warm Heart, but you are both with Save for Last Dance, and hoping that Ryan Moore is on the correct Ballydoyle horse. Right, that is a look ahead to the Irish Oaks. Do let us know your own selections in the comments section below as we move on to our next race. Again at the Curragh, this is the 420, the Group 2 Curragh Cup for the 3-year-olds and over a mile 6. Fascinating race again here, but Sam, it is fillies to the 4 in the betting, at least, between Emily Dickinson and Ross Carberry heading the way. But who wins it for you?
Yeah, I must say, favourites actually in the medium term have had a fairly moderate record. There's only one out of the last 5 have managed to win it, but I'm a big fan of Emily Dickinson here. I think that Gold Cup at Royal Ascot will actually work out. We've only seen a couple of runners since, but the 6th has since gone and won, and another horse has come out and placed since. I really, really like her. I know she's 2-1, which is short enough, and she dropped significantly in trip, but going back through her form, I'm fairly confident that this isn't going to be an issue for her. Again, she's another horse that you can probably tick into the versatile box for ground conditions. So from my perspective, I feel that she's more bomb-proof than a lot of the others in here. Is it a bit of a quick turnaround from a tough race? I suppose that's the only thing that would be niggling in my mind at around 2-1, but I still thought she's the best horse in the race for me, and I think she'll duly oblige.
OK, then. So Emily Dickinson, to hopefully that the race won't come too soon then for her. For Sam, Deck?
Yeah, I'm with Emily Dickinson as well. So, yeah.
The pair of you two.
See, I did so poorly last week. I'm just following Sam's tips this week. That's the way it's gone. But look, she's another filly that I think is going to be very happy if all that rain comes, because one, she stays well, and two, we've seen her in the past handle heavy ground very well. I thought she ran a cracker in a decent Gold Cup. I thought she was given a good straightforward ride by Ryan Moore. The ground was just probably too quick for her that day, but she stuck around late, which I thought was good. She's a filly who can cruise along and just maintain a gallop. She's always going to be vulnerable to those horses with a turn of foot. And, you know, if the Curragh does get all that rain, you know, that's really going to play to her strengths. One, because she handles the ground, and two, because she stays well. Now, her rival in the market is going to be Ross Carberry, I think, isn't it? And Ross Carberry actually beat her last season in the Stenera Stakes at Leopardstown over a mile 6, the same trip. But that was good ground, and I think they've gone different ways in their careers. I think Ross Carberry's actually got a little bit quicker with racing, and we probably saw that in the Pretty Polly Stakes last time out, where she had absolutely no bother lying up over 10 furlongs on good ground in a well-run Pretty Polly before she was murdered late in the race, unfortunately. Interesting that they're stepping her so far up in trip again. I just think if all that rain comes over those two, I think I'd just prefer to be with Emily Dickinson. So here we go again. It's another week. I'm hoping the rain falls, so yeah. Let's go.
Hopefully we're going to get the weather right this week, but it is from all of our different tracks that we're looking at this weekend. They all have different forecasts, different ground conditions at the time. Yeah, but you two agreeing with our first 2 races so far, how cute. So again, I'm going to disagree with the pair of you two here. I don't have the concerns about Ross Carberry over the trip or the ground, so I'm going to stick with her to uphold that form with Emily Dickinson from a while ago, because I was finding it difficult to split the pair of them, I must admit. But Ross Carberry back up in trip, so likeable, so versatile. Lady Bamford will of course be hoping for more success from her purchase this season after she won her reappearance in the Group 3 Munster Oaks, where she wasn't at her best, but she still found a way to win that race anyway. And then she was cited as only just being fit enough for that. The aim was to get a Group 1 win out of her, her before the end of the season. Cited in that grade last time out, as you say, in the Pretty Polly, where she had finished third in it in the previous year. But she was just keeping on again over the 10 furlong trip last time out. And she was one of those who just got seriously squeezed in the melee that ensued. So I'm not harsh upon that whatsoever. Trip, no problem for her. Fourth in last year's Irish St. Ledger and beating the reimposing Emily Dickinson over this trip in a Group 3 last summer. So hopefully Ross Carberry can uphold that form. And again, I'm disagreeing with Tweedledum and Tweedledee over there in this race and siding with Ross Carberry, Emily Dickinson for Beavis and Butthead over there. But let us know your own selections in the comment section below as we must head over to Newbury now, where we are on to the 3 o'clock. This is the Group 3 Hackwood Stakes for the 3-year-olds and over 6 furlongs. Lazoo is now joined up ahead of the market, 4-1 about her and Comanche Fool. So Declan, will this fairy tale farewell tour continue for Frankie on Lazoo, or how are you playing the race?
Oh, I don't know. I think I'm happy to leave her on her 2 runs this year. I think she ran well in the 1,000 guineas, to be fair. She shaped far better than the distance beat and clearly did not stay. And I know last time out then she was drawn away from the pace in the Commonwealth Cup, but I thought her finishing effort again was very disappointing. Maybe she needs to go back to even 5 furlongs now, who knows, but I'm happy to take her on. Look, this is another seriously competitive race, but I kind of did my own speed map there and I was looking at the horses on the speed, and it's going to be Diligent Harry from 11 and Cold Case drawn in 12. So I think those horses drawn low could struggle to get a good toe into the race. I actually was really interested in Rumstar at the prices, but he's drawn in the single figures down in 2, I think. So I ended up siding with Rohan, who was drawn in 9. Now he ran very well in this race last year behind Minzal. I think it was probably a stronger renewal, to be fair. Wasn't best positioned in a steadily run race, but he came through and looked a big danger before he weakened a little bit late. I think a return to that kind of level puts him bang in the mix here, and it makes him definitely overpriced at 8-1. Now, like last season, he didn't start this season too well. His earlier 2 runs weren't good, but last time out, last weekend at Ascot, over 5 furlongs, which wouldn't be his trip. I thought there were signs of life. He was coming back to form. That was a really messy race at Ascot. They kind of switched all over the track, and there wasn't a strong pace in the first couple of furlongs. And I think those horses on the pace were really suited. He was held up dead last, but he made up a lot of ground in the final furlong. I think getting back to 6 furlongs will definitely suit. So I thought Rohan, again, if the rain does come, it'll really enhance his chances. But to be fair to him, he's pretty ground versatile. It's just he does handle cutting the ground very well. But yeah, I do like Rohan. I think especially with the pace set up, David Evans in good form as well. I think he's operating at around a 14% strike rate. So yeah, fingers crossed, looking for more rain this weekend with Rohan.
Okay, so then you want rain basically everywhere from the way that we're going at it at the minute. And
but Sam doesn't, because that means the cricket's going to be called off, but that's another story.
Exactly, when England are in a prime position at the minute. But anyway, that's a different sport. If anything from the shows to go by so far, you would also be with Rohan?
No, we're finally disagreeing. And I think Declan's a little bit glass half empty on Lazoo, who I think will go off favourite here. Rafe Beckett, for me, I think one of the trainer's placement of horses at any level is really important. And I think he does a fantastic job. And I completely take your point that the run last time out, I guess, is a concern. The run on seasonal reappearance in ground that wasn't suitable isn't. Will Newbury get loads of rain? I think it'll be okay. I don't think it's going to end up soft at this time of the race. I think we'll be okay. And I think this horse is just a little bit of an easier grade as such here. And I just think people are forgetting just how good she was last year. 3-year-olds have won a couple of the last runnings of this race as well. And I definitely think I'd want to side with the younger horses here. She, for me, I have unfinished business with this horse. And I think after this run deck, if she bombs out, I think I'll be inclined to agree with you. But I just am willing to give her one more chance in slightly easier company. That's kind of my angle here. 4-1. I think that price will go. I think the Frankie factor, the Saturday punters are going to get stuck in. I think go shorter.
And we saw last week the 3-year-old win the July Cup. You know, it's a pretty kind of mundane group of older sprinters here. Maybe the 3-year-olds are the way to go, but sticking with the old boy Rohan. But never mind who I'm sticking with. Who are you sticking with?
Oh, thank you. Nicely teed up. And again, disagreeing with the pair of you two once more. Horse that I haven't heard anyone talk about so far. And I am taking a bit of a chance with him, but that is Mit Bahi. Now, originally when I looked at this race, I sort of thought Comanche Fool, he's got a solid chance here, clearly. really. But I just wonder about Irish sprinting form. I think that he was teed up perfectly for that. So again, I wanted to take him on there. Couldn't then see much pace in this race from the way I looked at it, apart from Cold Case and Diligent Harry. So that, again, is going to be against McBarry. So I'm doing a great start of bigging him up here, aren't I? But he hasn't been seen over this trip of 6 furlongs. It's just his second career start. But for me, this trip is well worth exploring in his 2 runs so far this season. He could be marked up for his reappearance when he was 5th behind Dramatise at Haydock in the Group 2 Temple Stakes. First run since October. And he did best of those who raced up the centre, where he came through late on without being able to get on terms with the first 4. And I then watched his run back in the King's Stand from last time out. He got away slowly. He ended up in rear. He was one of the first ones off of the bridle, but he didn't shirk the issue at all, kept on plugging away. And yes, he only finished 8th, but he wasn't beaten all that far. And again, it just makes this step up in trip 6 furlongs look well worth exploring. At 9 to 1, I'm getting a bit of a price about McBarry to chance him over this trip. So McBarry for me, Deck.
Rohan for me, please.
Sam.
Lizzo for me.
And again, do let us know your own selections in the comment section below as we move on to our next race, again at Newbury. This is the 3:35, the Super Sprint Stakes for the 2-year-olds over 5 furlongs. Big one for the 2-year-olds of the weekend. Relief Rally is the 7 to 4 market leader after a super unlucky second in the Queen Mary at Royal Ascot. But Sam, how are you playing this one?
Yeah, she's the right favourite, isn't she? I think Relief Rally, I think that's fair to say. But I was desperately trying to avoid picking possibly 4 out of 4 on the favourites this week, and I wanted to try and find some value. And this is the race really that you should take a favourite on when you look at the depth we've got here. Obviously, it's a really interesting concept, but Son of Coriolis for me is a really interesting horse here. Kieran Cotter coming over from Ireland ran this horse at Sandown the National Stakes, and the horse ran a pretty average race, but there was subsequently reasons to be found for that. Didn't seem to travel over too well, was a little bit sick afterwards, and then absolutely roared back to form and winning at Tipperary last time out. Kieran obviously picked up a placed effort in the Guineas earlier on this season. He's running I think something like a 33% strike rate the last couple of weeks from a small select bunch, it must be said, but he's definitely a trainer that's got an eye for this. This race was mentioned straight away after the win. It's obviously been a bit of a target, and I just think it's got the profile of a horse that's been rightly laid out for this. And at 7 to 1, I wouldn't be surprised to see the prize be going back to Ireland. One thing to mention here is the draw. Really, really important. You've got to go back to like 2011 to find a single figure draw that's won this race. We've got a nice double-digit draw. I would have liked it to be a little bit higher, but should be plenty of choice.
Yeah, but the draw, like you say, has been so significant for this race in recent years.
That is not what I wanted to.
Which is teed up Deck perfectly to take it away.
I did my speed map again for this race, and I thought low to middle was where you wanted to be, and that was kind of part of the reason why I wanted to take on Relief Rally, because she's drawn in 18. There's lots of good speed drawn in low, so I thought maybe the race could develop away from those horses drawn high. You know, over this kind of trip, 5 furlongs, you need everything to go right, don't you? And to be fair, the last meeting at Newbury over the sprint track, they did tend to race up the middle and then edge to the stand side rail. So I'm hoping maybe it's a case that ground has got a little bit poached up and they just stay straight down the middle. I was actually originally interested in Jupiter Berries, who's drawn in single figures, but the Eve Johnson Houghton Yard, they've just been struggling for winners the last month or so, a couple running well. So when I went away from her, I actually came down on World of Darcy of Carl Burke's. Now, he started off his career at Ponty, made a really nice winning debut from a stablemate, beat him well, who's now rated 92. Then he went to the National Stakes at Sandown behind another stablemate in elite status. He was second, but he was beaten out of sight, to be fair. He was beaten 5 lengths, I think, but he just looked very sleepy to me, still learning on the job. Then he ran at Royal Ascot in the Windsor Castle, backed from 16s into 5s. And if the people who backed him, they must have been very happy after a couple of furlongs, because 1, it was the first time we'd seen him break very quickly. 2, he was into stride quite quick as well, and he looked sharper. But after kind of getting down to the business end of the race, he just didn't fire. I don't know why. He's quite a big horse. He's by Soldier's Call, a stallion who's had a wonderful first season. But I just wonder, was the ground maybe a little bit too quick for him? Again, if Newbury get the rain, that could play to his strengths. And the other thing as well, Carl Burke has reached for a first-time visor. That could sharpen him up further again. So Carl Burke, a trainer in form at the moment as well. He's got lots of runners around the UK on Saturday. Clifford Lee, it looks like, has chosen to come here to ride him and Cold Case. So I'm hope it's a case of Clifford Lee chasing the Yankee Dollar with Cold Case and trying to win this big pot.
Okay, then, and then going in on World of Darcy, another Carl Burke 2-year-old. Like I say, I mean, it is just a profitable way to be following or to be angling your season, so isn't it, to be siding with those Carl Burke trained juveniles? But not enough for me to side against them. You say, Sam, about this is the favourite worth taking on. This is the only favourite now I'm siding with this weekend with Relief Rally, because my word, I was not enamoured with her going into Royal Ascot. I sort of thought, yes, she looks impressive. She could be anything, but her price is according for that. But my word, did she not show some ability on that occasion to put any of those doubts to bed. So I'm not trying to take her on again here. She was so unlucky in the Queen Mary to be in front before the line, to be in front after the line, but still not to win. I mean, it's one of those things you just have to see to be able to believe. And as she didn't even have as easy a run as the eventual winner in that race either. She followed through the wrong horses, it turned out, in the race. That being Got to Love a Grey, who faded to finish 5th. She also had to switch to the left of the winner, given that she had that little bit more work on than Crimson Advocate. That might have just been the difference between 1st and 2nd. Hopefully she can make amends here from her good draw in stall 18. So Relief Rally for me. Deck, what draw and horse are you going for again?
World of Darcy, drawn single figures for me, please.
Sam?
Let's hope Declan's place map's all wrong. Son of Caribus for me.
Yep, let's definitely hope so. Right, we all disagree there. But again, do let us know your own selections in the comments section below as we head over to the Sky Pad to give our best bets for the weekend. Now it's the all-important part. Time to put our money where our mouths are and give our best bets for the weekend. Deck, take it away.
Yes, the nap this week we've already discussed. It is going to be Save the Last Dance in the Irish Oaks. It's basically, the weather forecast looks truly horrendous at the Curragh, and we know how good this filly is on soft and heavy ground. She ran very well in the Oaks at Epsom on a faster surface. I think getting back onto a more conventional track with all that rain, I think she'll take an awful lot of beating, and I think she could go off shorter with Ryan Moore booked. Right, the next best is an old friend. It's a case of once more unto the breach, dear friend with Indemnify. I was really disappointed with him last time out at Sandown, but looking back at it, that's maybe been a bit harsh. He doubled in price before the race. Clearly wasn't expected to run a big race, and I thought under the circumstances to get so close to Perotto, he did run well. He was just again too fresh and too gassy, and Kieran O'Neill had to rein him back to get some cover, and he kept on falling further and further back through the field in a race that wasn't run at an overly strong gallop. Alice Haynes and Connections reach for a first-time Hood. I'm hoping he's going to face that in a race where he should get some pace to run at. So yeah, Indemnify, I'm hoping we can get some of our money back from the last time. And then the long shot is going to be Aztec Empire at Newbury in the 225. I just do not get the price with this horse. Nathaniel Green, who he finished ahead of in the Northumberland Plate, is 7-2 favourite, but he is 14-1. It just doesn't make any sense. That was his first run in an extended break, and he just looked too fresh and well in the Northumberland Plate. I think with that gassiness out of him now, I think he'll go well for the Andrew Balding yard, with Harry Davis taking off a valuable £3.
Yeah, and I just think that taking on Nathaniel Green's probably a good way to go all in all, really, in that race. Not a horse I implicitly trust, but they are Deck's best bets for the weekend. Sam, your own?
Yeah, well, we're height of the flat season, so where am I going to go for my nap cake?
Margaret.
We're off to Cartmel.
Oh, close.
We're off to Cartmel. Some sticky toffee pudding. Yeah, so really interesting card at Cartmel. It's going to absolutely pour with rain, and my nap's going to relish this, which is the good news. Rachel Blackmore takes 2 rides at Cartmel, and one of them is my selection, which is Horn Cape. Really interesting horse for Ben Haslam. This horse has had just the 4 runs for him, won 2 of them. Last time out of Fossilats, got dropped a couple of pounds, back down to a mark of 108. This is a female riders race, and you've got Rachel Blackmore on board, who, let's be frank, is brilliant and should take all the beating there for JP McManus. Interesting to see how that horse gets on. Like I say, very unexposed in the context of what else is in that race. Was a fairly expensive purchase out of France. Didn't do much for Nicky Henderson, but Ben Haslam, as ever, has worked the oracle there so far at a slightly lesser level. My next best, I've spoken all about the Hackwood Stakes, haven't we, in Lazoo, and I just think at 4-1, I'm willing to go once more to the well and take that half-full approach, hoping she can bounce back to her best. And I hope Declan is right about my long shot, because I looked at the super sprint and I wanted a Richard Hannon horse on side. He's got a great record in the race. Unfortunately, the draw is against me with La Guardiola, but I really like the horse. Well, or is it? Exactly, Dick. If your pace map's right and the draw stats are wrong, I could be laughing because I've got a 20-1 long shot. Fingers crossed can go well for Ammo Racing. Kate, enjoy the Barbie premiere.
Thank you so much. Exactly. Both of you two of the Oppenheimer attire. I know prizes for guessing exactly which one I'm going to be seeing. Clearly Oppenheimer. Yes, but more importantly, though, my own best bets for the weekend, because I'm going for 3 different races that we have not covered yet. My first horse is Postilio in the 225 at Newbury, a race that we have just been speaking about. He remains on a bit of a retrieval mission in terms of his career after he had looked very promising, of course, in 2021. He had then missed 2022, but on his reappearance at Hamilton, he showed his attitude and gritty determination once again, despite having all of the time off of the track. And then he had a £3 rise before heading to the Copper Horse Handicap, where we know that Vauban just absolutely dominated that. And this lad was not disgraced whatsoever in finishing 6th. He had plenty use made of him earlier on, given his high draw, but he was well positioned thereafter, admittedly. He weakened out of things. Quicker ground probably wasn't ideal for him, so hopefully the rain will hit Newbury and softer ground will suit him. Next best, I'm going up to Market Race. We talk about the height of the flat season. I am also going to a couple of jump races then up at Market Race. And La Domaniale in the 3:15. This is the summer plate up at Market Race, and couldn't resist the play here. Hugely respect Frankie de Burley, who's won the last 2 renewals of the race, has clearly been aimed at this race for a hat-trick. But I prefer the chances of the horse that finished second to him last year in La Domaniale even. When she ran in this race last year, it was just her 4th chasing start. So she's vastly more experienced this time around. And as soon as she won last time out at Aintree, you just thought, well, we know the next target for her is going to be coming here. And she won in good, gutsy and good style last time out as well. £5 rise. She's now £12 higher than the race last year, but that has been warranted to hopefully turn the tables with Frankie de Burley. And my last best bet, my long shot, 14-1, Castel Gandolfo in the 240 at Market Race. And now this is the summer handicap hurdle, so again one of the feature races from the summer jumping calendar. Last time out, I'd just be willing to draw a line through his run at Cartmel. It was a strange race. Paddy Brennan couldn't get there because of a milk spill on the way to Cartmel. He was too far back in the race. The rain came down for him before the off. That didn't suit him, and as I say, he was too far back, and he was also £3 wrong at the weights as well there. He finished second in this race last year. He's a horse where he doesn't turn his good runs into wins as much as you would have liked. Getting a fair price about him. Jack Hogan takes the ride. Paddy Brennan is on Dancilla, who I also hugely respect. Fergal O'Brien with a strong hand in the race. But for me, it will be Castel Gandolfo as my long shot. But that is everything from us on this week's show. A big thank you to Dec and to Sam for all of their hard work as per usual. A big thank you to you for watching and for getting involved in the comments. We'll be back at the same time next week, where we'll be previewing the King George at Ascot, so you really don't want to miss that one.